How's it going, guys? Max here. In today's video, I would like to show you how you can automate your end-of-the-day reports, hopefully in just 10 minutes. It's very simple, nothing crazy. I've seen many companies just hiring a VA or having someone to actually input the data manually, and I think that's unnecessary. So we set up like a simple foundation. You can automate the entire thing. Before we start, I just want to make sure you have some EOD system in place. If not, immediately set it up. Because that should be standard for every single company if you have more than one employee, right? This video is going to be specifically for sales team, right? So if you have a closer, appointment setter, I linked two documents that I made a video about, like appointment setter tracking and closer tracking. If you scroll down, there's going to be like end of the day report template or data you could include, maybe give you more inspiration what to put in your end of the day report. Again, same principle applies to like marketing, customer success, just depends on what you want to see from those reports. Now, why do we need this, right? Is mainly because you as a leader, you have to know what's going on. Certain positions have KPIs, specifically the sales team, right? And you have to see whether or not this person is actually going to hit the target, right? Should they review those reports on daily, weekly basis? Because, you know, each employee is a unique asset to the company and you should treat them as such. So if you identify that they're not performing based on their reports, you can help them get back on track and make you more money essentially. In terms of the tech stack, what we're going to be using today, a few tools, but don't worry if you're not using the same ones. Again, the principle applies, the foundation is the same. You just have to figure out how to connect the data. So for submitting end of the day reports, we're going to be using Typeform. Alternative is fill out or Airtable forms. Yes, I would use fill out in my opinion. Storing information, right? We have to store the information somewhere. We're going to be using Airtable, but again, alternative is Google Sheet. I like Google Sheet because, you know, it's flexible, but it's not scalable, even with something like end of day reports. So we're going to be using Airtable because it's more structured. In the notification system, alert system, Slack, you probably use Slack for instant communication with your team, or you can use, you know, Gmail, Outlook to send yourself an email. In terms of automation, how we're going to connect everything, it's going to be through make.com. Alternative, again, Zapier, N8, and other tools like Relay, but I'm using make.com. I don't like these other tools. They're too simple for me, in my opinion, but we're going to be using Make. Also, there are a few resources in the document, so this entire document is going to be in the description for you to check out. And yeah, let's get straight into it. So before we start automating everything, we have to set up a foundation, a structure, right? Where we store the data as well as how we use the data. So right here, we're in Airtable. And I've set up 3 simple tables: end of the day reports, daily stats, sales reps. Now, I just want to say there's no right or wrong way. It just depends on your use case and how much of data do you have or are you collecting, right? So this is a very simple setup, but again, the same principle applies to literally anything if you were to build it on your own and a little bit more complex. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So end of the day reports, when someone submits a type form, the data goes here, right? So when did they submit, the type, and this is, so I kind of combine closers and phone setters into one table. I would advise if you have like multiple departments, I would make a unique table for each one. So closer EOD table, phone setter EOD table, marketing EOD table, etc., etc. So that way it's like, there's not too many columns, it's much more scalable, and it's easier to navigate, I would say. But yeah, so when they submit, you know, calls on the calendar, live calls, offers made, deals closed, you know, cash collected, revenue, and then metrics for phone setters, right? Then some notes and assigning the sales rep. Then we have a table sales rep, which pretty self-explanatory. When someone fills out the type form, we have to identify them uniquely, right? Who actually did submit the type form, which is going to make more sense in just a minute. But we just take, you know, information about your sales reps. So first name, last name, type, their email, if they're active, inactive. Essentially means if you fire them guys or if they're still in the company. And then we have daily EOD stats, which I've created this table only because if you were to do it like one by one, which again, once we are in Make, it's going to make more sense, but it's going to burn a lot of operations if you have multiple rows and you want to sum up the values of everything. So in this case, I just created like a different table that takes all of the end of the day reports and in one row just displays and sums up all of the values, right? So that way it's kind of like, it's easier on the operation side if you have a lot of data, that way you don't have to burn too much. And I guess last thing before we hop into Typeform, like I said, I combined 2 or 3 metrics or 3 types of sales reps. So I created like different views for closers, different views for setters, just by, you know, filtering and grouping them by a date. And yeah, also, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, resources in the link in the description. You can download the CSV of all of these tables and just hop into here, import CSV file. Is going to import all the columns as well as the data that is here. So just so you know, you don't have to set up everything from scratch. You can just import it. So yeah, let's get straight into Typeform. So right here in Typeform, I've created a very simple one, closer EOD, right? The same stuff we have in Airtable. So date of the submission, who's the person, right? And now we have multiple choice for emailing. for emails that your sales rep use. What I found, and it's such a pain in the ass when you do automations or anything, when you let people, I guess, fill out the values in terms of, for example, the email, right? If there's one character that is not correct in the type form, then the automation is not going to find the person. It's pain in the ass, it errors, etc., etc. So what I did here, and for all my clients really, just setting up a drop down, no, a multiple choice for the sales rep just to select the one email that they have, right, or they work with. So john@company.com or emily@company.com. So yeah, that's that. Make sure that every single field is required as well, so that way, you know, it always works essentially. Yeah, and then we have the stuff I showed you and breaking down the date. So now let's go into Airtable, or sorry, Make, and create your first scenario. So what I thought about is that we are going to create two very simple automations. The first one is going to be when someone submits. So we take the data, we store it in a database, aka Airtable, and then we send a notification that someone submitted an end of the day report. I would say that's a very simple one. So once you're here in Make, the first module, like you see right here, is watch responses. So if you somewhere select type form, watch responsive, instant asset. What that's going to ask you to do is create a webhook, which essentially means just a URL that listens to submissions right into the data. Just follow the instructions, connect your type form, name your webhook, and you're good to go. Now, the next thing you have to do is trigger the webhook, because we need the data, right? Before we do anything, like, we need to have the data in the webhook. So let's just do this. Let's go into the type form that I just created, and let's submit one type form. So 12, 20, 24, max, John, 10, 8, quickly, 5, 6, 2, let's do cash collected, 10,000, 20,000. Good day, as always. Now you hit submit, it obviously goes through. And now, since you submitted, if you were to click on run this module only, there's, use existing data. So if I run this, boom, I get the definition of the data, and now we can work with submissions. So as you can see, date of submission, etc., etc., etc. So first module I would like you to create is an Airtable search record. So the first one, what we're gonna do is search the team member, the sales rep, right? So when an EOD is submitted, you will find the sales rep. So select your base, then select the table, which is sales rep. And when it comes to the formula, right, we have to filter it out. So it's these brackets, these two brackets, and you have to take the column's name, like exactly the column's name, and type it in here, right? So I know it's email, then it's equal, then it's apostrophe, is that how you say it? And then I take the email from the type form, right? Another apostrophe, limits to 1, boom. Save it, make sure. And let's just run this if it works. Company.com. Boom, and we find John. Let me just rename this. It's always a good practice to name your modules, because if you have 50, 60 modules, it's very easy to get lost. So we got sales reps. Then another module, and like I was saying before, there's multiple ways you can set this up, but since we set up a table daily stats, we want to search if those stats exist, right? So we have to search if they exist for this specific date. So this one is like this. So date, this is what the column is exactly named, equals to, and let's just take the date of submission. Again, filtering our records however you want to do it is just about what's your preference, right? I don't really, when I'm building out a bunch of reports and then dashboards, I don't really use Airtable. I use different tools, but the flexibility is in your side, right? You can do whatever you want. So now search daily stats. Let's just save this and run it, right? So if I was to go here, 12, 26, 2024, and I believe this is 26, 2024, boom. It did not find it simply because we're actually getting, instead of getting a date, a text value, we're getting a submission, a date value. So simple, right? One simple formula, which is format date. Let's take this. I mean, you could do it like with submitted at, but let's say, for example, someone just submits like a date later or something that the values are not really the same or accurate, right? So what we want to do here, so format date, take the date and format it as year, dash, month, dash, day, close the bracket. So if I was to run it again, select this, boom, now it's supposed to find the daily stat, right? Now, the next thing is router. So let's make sure that if this exists, which is total number of bundles equal to 1, then it goes up. If it doesn't equal, it could go fallback, but I always like to do filters. That way it's better to make sure that it goes if the filter is correct. So total number of bundles, 0. So what happens, right? Someone submits, we search the sales rep, we search the daily statistic. If the daily statistic exists, we just update it, right? So what we're gonna do here is obviously create record, which just takes the values from the EOD. So again, select your base, then select the table, which in this case is end of the day reports. And yeah, let's just fill out all those values. So date of submission, type, since this is just for closers, we always know that it's a closer. So call slots filled, live calls, offers made, deals closed, cash collected, revenue, dials we don't. This is a setter side, notes, this is breaking down your day, and sales rep, we now take the sales rep that we found, right? So ID, sales rep. If it does exist, then it's good. We take ID of the daily statistic, boom. Create EOD report info, right? We clone this because this is going to be the same thing. But in this case, since this is, so right here, it exists, right? We just update it. If it doesn't exist, then we have to create daily statistic, right? So this is going to be, it's going to be, again, create a record, the base, and now select daily EOD stats. And the date is going to be date of submission, right? We hit save. It's a very simple step. Create daily EOD stat, right? And right here, what we're gonna do is it's exactly the same thing as this, but we're just gonna assign this module. So this one here. Boom. So this is pretty much it. Now to top it off, some alert, right? Some alert, maybe in Slack, maybe in email, doesn't really matter. What's your preference really? So select Slack, create a message, select the bot, and just select your channel, which I'm gonna do here. And now just format the text however you want. I'm gonna do something simple, EOD, submit it, by closer, and then you can do like call slots filled. We'll take this. Again, I'm gonna make sure that this is something fast. Offers, then deals closed, cash collected. Let's make sure that this is bold. Cash collected, revenue generated, and submit it by, and the closer's name, which we can now use from this module. From this module, we can use the entire name, John Smith, right? Boom. Sometimes this doesn't work, so we just have to click it twice, save it. Let's name this as alert, clone it, same thing here. So if I was to submit an EOD right now, it should work. So So let's just do this. Let's do month 12. Let's just do 29, even though it's not, so that we can see what's happening. John Smith, Johnny, 10, 9, 3, 1, 2,500, 5 grand, decent day, right? I submit. Now, since this is not turned on, it's not gonna run, but we can do run once, and let's see if it works. If not, then we'll see. It runs, boom, 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 and then we get a notification. So let's see what happened here. So end of the day reports, as we can see, John Smith, decent day. If I was to go to closers, right? These values have been filled out. Then we have sales reps. So we just assigned the end of the day report to the sales rep, and then we have daily AOD, which is 29. And as we can see right here, all of the values specifically made for that. So if I was to go to Slack, you can see right here, EOD submitted by closer, John Smith, offers, whatever. Now, if you wanted to make like a very detailed statistic to like KPIs and then a bunch of other stuff, it just really depends on what you want to do, like I said many times. So yeah, but this will tell you exactly what has been submitted and when it was submitted. One thing I've noticed is that it didn't seem accurate at first. I was like, what the but as you can see, 12/28, I actually filled out 29th. The problem was that here submitted at, instead of date of submission, there was submitted at, right? This is the time like right now, and submission date is here. So yeah, just edit that specific one. But yeah, so this is the first automation. The second automation is going to be very simple, nothing crazy. So let's get straight into it. So like I said before, this automation is going to be running every single day, or Monday through Friday at the end of the day, right? Just taking all these values and sending a new notification of what happened in the day for the entire sales team. So yeah, let's select Airtable. Let's do a search record. Select our base. And now we're selecting daily end of the day stats, right? And the formula in this case is going to be, so obviously date, the formatted one, column, equals to, and since we are running this automation every day, we're taking today's date, right? So we're gonna have to do here is go right into this, I guess, card, and write down format date, select now, this, and how do we want to format it is year, dash, month, dash, DDD, right? And we just close it off, and apostrophe. Why this? Again, is because we have a column in Airtable that specifically is like this. So this is going to be search daily stat. Let's just save this. And I know that we don't have the correct date, since this is, let's say it's 26th. So let's just change, oh, actually I could have left it be. But yeah, if I was to run this, then we find from the 26th, right? And now, how often do we want to run this, right? So this would be days of week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you want to do Saturday and Sunday, you have sales reps that work, on the weekend. It's good, but it just depends. And the time, I don't know, let's just say 5 p.m. Let's set the standard for your team that EODs have to be submitted before 4:30 p.m., 6 p.m. Just depends on the time zone as well. And yeah, and after that, it's gonna run. So not yet. Just save this. So as we seen, it ran. It found the EODs, all the EODs assigned to it, and the values, right? So this is a very simple thing. Slack. And again, you can format the message however you want, but you would do like select your channel. And again, I'm gonna repeat myself. Summary of, and maybe we can do like format date, which would be like this, and we do maybe the same thing, just summary of what date. And then you could do again the same thing, like how many calls, call slots failed, and then we're just taking values from this one module, right? This, live calls, this, offers, maybe you don't really care about, how many offers have been there this date, maybe just deals closed and overall revenue. This depends how much data are you tracking and what type of data are you tracking. Cash collected, we'll just make it bold. It's gonna be this, cash collected, boom, and revenue generated. Now what you can do is also use ChatGPT, which again, this is nothing complicated. Boom, and right, like if you run it, then it's gonna do the same thing here, right? We got another summary. Like I said, it just depends on what you're trying to track, but you could take ChatGPT, take all of the notes from each sales rep and just do a summary of how each one of them felt, and then put it in the report. Again, I don't want to repeat myself, but it just depends what you want to do. Now, the reason at the beginning of the video I was saying we have 3 tables, the daily end of the day stats. If we did not set this table up, the reason, or what you would have to do in this case is do a search of daily stats. And right here, you would have to put like, let me just quickly show you. This would be numeric aggregator, which would be sum and sum of these values. Well, you would take all of the, so what you would do here is you would search all of the end of the day reports for this date, which it would output multiple bundles. And since this is only daily stats, right, but it would be a different table, and you would put a numeric aggregator and just select the field. So it's gonna sum up all the values. But if you have multiple columns from calls on the calendar, live calls, offers, cash collected, for each column, that's kind of like, I guess, like a downside of Make, you would have to do this, right? So like this would be calls on the calendar, this would be live calls, and you would have to do for every single column and then take values. So instead of taking from this value, you would take the result. So that way we just, stay organized in one single table. We don't have to burn a bunch of operations, because as you can see, like there would be a lot of operations. So hey guys, this has been everything from me. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I provided some value. Instead of just hiring a VA or making someone to do this manually, you can set up a very simple foundation and automate the entire process. Like I said many times before, these tools are flexible for you. So just playing around with it, test what works, what doesn't, and because every single company looks at different stuff and want to present the data in a different way. But if you have it set up in Airtable where there's a structure, it becomes much more scalable if you have multiple sales reps on your team or multiple team members, right? So thank you guys for watching. If you're on a high ticket offer and want to scale with data with custom analytics dashboards, we can do this for you as we did for Business Coach Academy and Aligned Marketing and Sales. So there's a link below to book a call. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you. Bye.